Hello everyone, and welcome to another Pyro Gaming video. Have you ever wondered why YouTubers do that? It's because they're creating a video and audio sync point, so now I can go back and know exactly when to start it. So look, here's the deal. I'm going to do this video a little different than I normally do my videos. Typically, I write down a script, and then I record the voiceover, and then I go record little snippets of video to try to match what I talk about in the script. This one, I feel like, isn't going to be easy doing it that way, so we're just going to do it live. I'm right here. This is me moving the cursor. I'm recording it live. So in this video, and this is a question I get a lot, we're going to be going over armor stats, what they mean, which ones are good, which ones are trash, how you can get good rolled armor. We're going to try to cover all of that. Okay, so look, I'm going to start right off the top and say that the two stats that you're going to get the most use out of, the two that are going to be the most important and you're going to see the most times being used, is going to be recovery and intellect. Recovery brings your shields back whenever you are hurt. The quicker you get your shields back, the better chance you have of staying alive. You honestly want 100 recovery all the time. Crucible, raids, patrol, it doesn't matter. You want recovery. It is really, really good. Intellect, get your super back. Supers are fun. Try to get as much intellect as you can. The difference between tier 9 and tier 10 is only 4 seconds, so I mean it's not that important. As long as you're getting around 80 to 90 intellect, you are going to, for the most part, get the full benefits of the intellect system. Now, some ones that don't matter, for me personally, are discipline and strength. There's never been a time where I'm like, man, if only I had a grenade, 15 seconds sooner. That's never been an issue for me, so I don't care about discipline. If I'm going for a strictly grenade build, then I will use exotics to make that build. I will not use discipline. And same can be said for strength. I've never once, been like, man, if I really need to get my strength up so that I can punch things more. Again, if I'm doing a melee focused build, I will use an exotic to get the melee back, and I won't rely on strength. So the top two here, you got mobility and resilience. I will tell you flat out right now, resilience does not mean a damn thing in PvE. You do not need resilience. Honestly, the biggest downside of the armor that I have here, there's no mods on any of this armor. Like, this is just base stats, well, plus masterwork. The biggest downside of this armor set is that I have so much resilience. I would much rather have that 48 stat points distributed elsewhere. Like, I don't need this at all. 5% shield capacity is nothing. You double this, you go 100 resilience, you have 10% shield capacity. That is nothing. Put on literally any resist mod. Any resist mod. Melee damage resist, sniper damage resist, concussive dampener. These do like 25 to 40% reduction of damage. One of these mods is more than double, and in some cases quadruple, what max resilience is. I cannot stress this enough. This is a useless stat in PvE. Oh, but Pyro, it gives you your barricade. Look, man, again, much like I said about discipline and strength, I've never once been in a situation where I'm like, man, I really need that barricade now. Class ability cooldown time, 33 seconds. If I go up a tier, it's 30 seconds. Like, that's fine. I don't care. I really and truly don't care. Resilience is useless. Now, in PvP, you want some resilience, and we'll talk about PvP builds later, and I'll tell you why you want that resilience. Mobility is probably the third ranked stat out of all 6 of these in terms of how often you are going to feel that it's being used. Increase your movement speed and maximum jump height. When you go 100 mobility versus when you go 0 mobility, you will absolutely notice a difference. Same with recovery, same with intellect. All right, and that's what you need to look at. Which stats am I going to get the most use out of? You're always running, you're always jumping, you're always taking damage, you're always going to need your shields back, and you always want to have your super. Those are the top 3. Now, let's talk about the stat distribution, because a lot of people seem to think that your armor is completely based on stats. Like this one right here, for example, is a 65 stat roll when it's not masterwork. Masterworking a piece of armor adds +2 to each column, so a total of +12 on your total line down there at the bottom. The point of this is if you masterwork all 5 sets, then each column, like mobility for example, gets +2, +2, +2, +2, +2. So just from masterworking it, my mobility is 31 instead of 21. That's the point of masterworking. All of these get plus 10, every single one of them, if you masterwork all 5 pieces. So looking at these, this helmet right here is a base of 62. That's not very high. A lot of people would look at a base 62 stat armor piece and say, that's trash, I don't want it. I need that 67, I need that 68. Straight up, dude, it does not matter, all right? It doesn't matter how high the total is if the distribution sucks. Now, for this specific distribution, when I masterworked it, I was able to get 26 intellect and 20 recovery. That's 2 stats with 20 stat value. That is very, very good. And the reason that is good is because I didn't achieve it on this armor set, or at least I haven't yet. But let's say that each and every one of my armor pieces had this exact same distribution. Let's say that all of them had 20 recovery and 20 intellect. Right off the bat, without any mods whatsoever, I can have 100 recovery and I can have 100 intellect, and then I can use my mods elsewhere to build up the other portions of these stats that I want to use. And that's why stat distribution is number 1, it is king, and it's not so much about the overall total of the roll. This could be a 70 stat, but if it's 30 strength and 30 discipline and, 5 recovery and 7 intellect, I'm not going to use it. I will never use it, because to me, that is not something that I'm going to get a lot of use out of. I just stuttered bad right there. I'm going to get much more use out of the 20 recovery and the 26 intellect than I would if it was 26 here and 20 here, okay? So looking at the rest of these, you got pretty good stat distribution for the most part. Again, the resilience kills this build for me. I hate that it has so much resilience. I would have much rather had it distributed elsewhere. This right here, in my opinion, is the perfect armor piece. This is the absolute perfect distribution. This is the absolute perfect, bit of stats. This is it for me. If I can get every single one of my armor pieces drop exactly like this with a base of 65 and have this kind of distribution, this kind of spread, I'm getting 30 intellect, 24 recovery, and 11 mobility on a single armor piece. This is it, guys. What is the God Roll armor piece? This is the God Roll armor piece, okay? This is where it's at right here. Class items, you want to masterwork your class items. You want to go ahead and fully rank them up to 10 energy, because there's no reason not to. The great thing about class items is that they literally don't matter. You can masterwork every single class item that you get because it's going to be the same. It's going to give you the same stats. So masterwork it and get those +2 in all 6 of your columns, giving you a total of +12. It's going to help you out over here. Masterwork all your class items. That should be the first thing that you masterwork if you're unsure about how your stats look, because these don't have stats. Now I'm going to show you my Crucible set here. And again, this is no mods, nothing like that. These are all just base stats plus the masterwork value. And you can see here that this is really good intellect. This is pretty good resilience. I mentioned earlier that in PvP, you do want some higher resilience. And the reason that you do is because I believe it's 60 or 70 resilience determines whether or not Thorn can 2-tap you in the Crucible with its tick damage. I forget the exact value because I'm not a big PvP guy, but 60 to 70 resilience you do want in Crucible just to help you stay alive. But you can also use these, melee resist, sniper resist, and concussive dampener, and they will also help you out in Crucible as well. So aside from that, we have the resilience covered, base of 99 intellect. That is so triggering to me. Not that I need that extra 4 seconds, but come on, you couldn't give me 1. You couldn't give me like an extra point somewhere. So looking at these distributions, this is a solid distribution right here for PvP. We're getting a little bit of mobility, a little bit of recovery, we're getting really good intellect, and we're also getting some of that resilience for PvP, which is something that you want. Now this is a base of 62. If you take the masterwork off, it's a 62 stat roll, which again, seems pretty low, but these are the stats that I want to have, and therefore it's good. Down here, we have another one of those damn near perfect stat rolls, and this one's actually a base stat roll of 58. But even though this is a 58, and this one right here is a 62, I'm going to use this one way more than I use this one because of the distribution. Always look at the distribution. When they're crazy lopsided like this, hitting those 3 big categories, mobility, recovery, intellect, you want to keep it. You really and truly do. So like this one right here is where most of my resilience comes from, most of my intellect comes from. So that's why this piece was a keeper to me. This one is pretty meh, you know. I think this is a base of, what would that be, 61. It's focused on discipline, resilience, not a lot of intellect, not a lot of recovery. I would replace this one in an absolute heartbeat if I got something better. Now, I'm going to give you guys one more example here of my armor sets. This set right here is my Garden of Salvation set, and it is trash. You might look at these stat distributions and be like, oh, well, they're all pretty much even. That's great. That's a great armor set. Look how even all of those are. Here's the thing. When you go for your stat rolls, and look, these are all really good rolls, well, except for the helmet. The helmet is a 58 base. This one's a 64. This one's a 65, 64, and then the class item. These are all really high stat rolled armor pieces, and they might look good here, you know, to the untrained eye. Somebody that just looks at these and glances over, be like, wow, with no mods on, that's some good distribution. But here's the thing. Let's say that I want 100 recovery. I have to put a recovery mod on all 5 of these armor pieces to get to 100 recovery, and then that's it. I can't bring any more stats up aside from maybe mobility with powerful friends on one of these. But, like, that's it. I could have 100 recovery, but everything else is going to be pretty bad. Let's say that I wanted 100 intellect. Let's say I really wanted to focus on that super build, and I also wanted 100 mobility. I physically cannot do it with this armor set. I can't do it. If I wanted 100 recovery, 100 intellect, and 100 mobility, not possible. This is not a good armor set, but these are high stat rolls. Okay, so look. Let's go back to this one. This is my main set. This is what I use in everything. Okay, and we're gonna look at how the mods play with these. Now, again, like I was saying on that Trials or the Garden of Salvation set, if I wanted 100 recovery, I couldn't do it. If I want 100 recovery on this, a single mod, and I'm at 100 recovery. Now I want, or I'm sorry, intellect. Now I want 100 recovery. Actually, this time. So I'm going to do a full recovery mod. And then I'm going to do another full recovery mod. And that's close enough. That is close enough to me. Now, you really do want 100 because that is a pretty big difference. So I guess we will go ahead and throw on a minor recovery mod. And there we go. We got 2 stats at 100 now. Now, I want my mobility up. So I'm going to go ahead and go in here. I'm going to pop on Powerful Friends. And I'm going to pop on an Arc Resist to activate Powerful Friends. And now I have 100, 100, and 51. Now, this isn't perfect. I would much rather get rid of this resilience and trade it for mobility or something to the likes of that. But look, 100, 200, 50, we'll call that another 300. 350, 360 total stat points. Okay, so tier 36, tier 35, that's somewhere what we're looking at. This is a very, very good armor set. It's not perfect, mind you, but it is a very, very good armor set. We're setting at tier 36, tier 35, somewhere in there. That's pretty close to the highest that you can get. I don't know the exact highest you can get. I want to say it's 37 or 38, but we're not far from that. And this is just my go-to armor set for PvE. This is what I use for everything. Grandmasters, raids, whatever. I do it all right here in this armor set. Now, one more thing that I want to show you guys while we're on the subject is where to get these high stat rolled armors. Obviously, you can go do the raid. The raid drops some pretty good armor. You got Deepstone Crypt there. You got Garden of Salvation over here on the moon, and then what is it? Last Wish over here in the Dreaming City. So that's a good source for high stat rolled armor. You also have your dungeons, of course. You have the Prophecy Dungeon, Pit of Heresy. Now, Pit of Heresy is going to be, in my opinion, the best place to go farm these really good stat rolled armor pieces. And the reason why is because the final boss in Pit of Heresy is guaranteed to drop you an armor piece that has 20 stat points in 2 different columns. Okay? Which means it's guaranteed to drop you armor like this. So you want to just keep farming Pit of Heresy every week until you get full sets with recovery, intellect, and mobility focused. Unless you're going for PvP, then you can go for something like resilience. But Pit of Heresy, I mean, this is, what would that be? Oh, another thing is when you're trying to come up with your stat rolls and all that stuff, always do it with no mods on so that you know what you're doing. So without the masterwork, this would be 28 intellect and 22 recovery. That's the kind of stuff that you can get from the final Pit of Heresy boss. Shattered Throne over here in the Dreaming City does not give you that kind of stat distribution, but it does give you the 60, 65 plus total stat armor. Now the last one that we're going to do here is go to the Helm, because the Helm lets you focus armor with the Umbral Engram system. That's how I got all of these. Not this season. I got all of this in Season of Arrivals rather, a few months ago. But that's how I got all these. I just kept focusing them until I got drops. Like this one, I think I focused intellect every time, and then I just kept doing that until I got a roll with intellect and recovery. So let's see, how do you... Haven't even used this because they're so expensive. But it is something that you can do to get specific rolls. So like you can come down here and focus recovery, you can focus intellect, you can focus your mobility. You can do all that right here. It's very expensive though, and it's very time consuming. I would say do this when you can, whenever you fill your hammer up with enough charges, but definitely be running that Pit of Heresy boss checkpoint every week on all 3 of your characters, because that is going to be some spicy, spicy armor. Also, Trials. I showed you my Trials armor a second ago. Trials drops armor like this quite a bit. So I can't remember if this was from packages or if this was from going flawless or what the case was, but Trials of Osiris is a really good source for really good rolled armor. And I think that's going to do it, guys. Hopefully I covered everything there. I know that was kind of a winded video. We're at 17 minutes. But drop a comment in the box below and let me know if you have any questions, and let me know which stats you go for the most. If you enjoyed this video, click like. If you're new to the channel, click subscribe. And if you're already subscribed, I fucking love you. Thank you guys so much for watching, and take care.